Right, so I am going to run you through a call I do with my clients and the guys on Fight Camp on mentality, improving, how your mindset affects your nutrition, your training, and even improving jiu-jitsu, okay? So, men as you know, mentality is everything. And you can have two people in a similar situation, but the one who is sat there and thriving in the chaos will always do a lot better than the person who's sitting there focused on the negatives, and thinking that everything is going wrong for them, right? And it's the exact same situation for both people. It's just the mindset that makes the difference in terms of the result will come. Okay, so I'm going to run through this. I suggest having like a notepad, a pen and paper. You can use your phone, right? But I always think the phone's never as good for going through like questions, writing things down, because one, it's easier to get distracted. Coming from CAP and ADHD myself, very easy to get distracted. And two, it doesn't have the same like connection between the mind and writing things down. I feel like you won't get yourself out there on typing as you would on pen and paper. Okay, so first part, right? Boom. So press present. Here we go. Okay. So your mindset, you've got a growth or a fixed mindset. Now, there's a difference between both, right? You might hear the same before, but a growth mindset is obviously the belief that your ability, your skills, intelligence can be developed through effort and learning. And then a fixed mindset is the belief that the traits like talent and intelligence are innate and unchangeable, like you're born that way. Now, your genetics are fixed, right? Like some people, like you're not going, you can't get to be taller. There's no like exercise to get taller, right? There's no thing you can eat that'll change the color of your eyes, right? That's your genetics. That's fixed. But we know that you can get bigger, right? You can get stronger. Most people, like physically, tend to follow their parents' genetics, right? In general. So, like, you have tall mom and dad, you'll probably be quite tall, okay? But your dad might be quite skinny, right? Might have a small build, but you know you can go to the gym, go lift, and get bigger, right? So a lot of people understand this with that physical aspect, but with the mindset, I tend to find some people genuinely believe that the like others are just better than them, or they might seem more confident, they're able to do more, and that person's just naturally talented. But for a lot of times, it's usually just the person who seems more naturally talented. They just have a growth mindset, and they come into training sessions, they come into learning opportunities, and they see this as an opportunity to get better, and they try and like see that they can improve it. Whereas some people will have a go at something and think, "Oh, I actually can't get out of this. Like I'm shit." And then when it doesn't go well for them, they just quit. Right? They think that they never meant to be good at it. Okay. So the people with the growth mindset, they embrace the challenges, they view failures as learning opportunities, and they persist through the setbacks. But those with a fixed mindset will often avoid the challenges. They fear failure and they give up easily when things get tough. Right? The benefit of this is you can change from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, right? Like it doesn't have to stay one or the other, okay? You can be someone like, and I myself was someone who used to think like, oh, right, like I would never be good at sport because I'm not a sporty person. Can't catch or throw a ball. And I would be like, I can never be sporty, and never be athletic. And then I ended up being a professional fighter, and I did get more athletic, and I did get more sporty, but it's because I was just consistent with my training, okay? So an example would be a fighter with a fixed mindset might think, I'm not good at wrestling. We've all thought that. And avoid training. With a fighter with a growth mindset will go, I'm not good at wrestling yet, but I can improve if I keep training. Now, you'll see this in jiu-jitsu all the time. The wrestling example is the one I use because people tend to avoid wrestling. They get taken down a few times, or they go to take someone down to get guillotined, right? And they're like, fuck, wrestling doesn't work for me. But that happens for everyone. You just got to push through that phase, right? And realize, like, look, I've just got to be diligent in doing the wrestling because it's very hard and very tough. It's easy to get demotivated and feel like, fucking hell, you're not ever going to get better, okay? So my two questions for you are, right? I want you to think of a time when you face a setback in training and how did you respond? And do you believe that mental strength is a skill that can be trained, or are some people just born with it? All right, write them down, have a look at your answers, right, and just try and be honest with yourself. Okay, you can pause this if you want to like spend more time to do it. Next one. So, how mindset influences recovery and long-term performance, recovery and long-term success. I got a thing here, so I can't see. So, studies show that belief about stress and fatigue directly impact how the body responds to them. Athletes who view fatigue as a sign of growth will push through, and those who see it as a sign or signal to stop often underperform. Now, when I say fatigue, I don't mean like you are absolutely fucking bollocks and you can't do any training at all, but I'm on about like when you wake up a little bit achy, you went, oof, fucking feeling it today. A good athlete or someone who improves will go, right, okay, let's keep going. Whereas someone who usually gets stuck or doesn't really improve that well, the underperformers, they will soon they get that first sign of discomfort, of the aches, the DOMs, they just stop, right? They just jump on train altogether. Now you can modify your training and still train. So maybe you have a bit of a lighter day. Maybe you change some of the exercises up. Maybe you go from full sparring round to drilling, but you're still going to do something. Whereas those that again that tend to view it as a more negative point will just not turn up altogether. Okay. An example by a study called with the team Crum et al. So they found individuals who believe stress was beneficial had better physiological responses, so lower cortisol, better cardiovascular function, than those who saw stress as harmful. Okay, which is really interesting because I think you underestimate how much your mind plays a role in your ability to improve and also even just physically respond to training. Those that go in and they go, that is good, this is how it's meant to feel, this is like part of the process, get through it a lot easier, right? They respond better. Whereas those who feel like this is the wrong thing, it's uncomfortable and not enjoying it, guess what happens? They quit, okay? So long-term success isn't just about the physical ability. Actually, let's skip one. Similarly, an athlete's perception of pain discomfort can dictate their ability to continue training or competing. Interestingly on this, I seen, I don't know if it was a study or point before, they had these athletes, they were doing like a strenuous hard exercise. I think they were elite athletes as well, but they had a group of them, the two groups. I think they had the one group smile when doing it. I sound so stupid. So like they were doing, I don't know, I think it might have been a bike test. It's something ridiculous, but it's really hard exercise. And they said, right, I want you to fucking like smile when you're doing the exercise. And they ended up performing a lot better, right? Just the simple act of smiling, because obviously smiling is a positive, something we do when something's positive, something feels good, right? We're happy, we smile. And they pushed through and managed to go further in the study. I think it was like time to exhaustion was improved. Whereas those who were just like, dragging their heels. And you know, it's like, imagine the end of a training session where you're sitting there and you're fucking dragging your heels, right? And you can't be asked to, like you try to get up the mat and your hands on your hips and you're looking down. The next one's always shit. But those that get up like, oof, right, I'm enjoying this. Like, yeah, they're tired, but like, no, this is class. Like, this is what I wanted. They perform a lot better in the next round, right? You'll see it in your own gym if you go spar tonight. Long-term success isn't just about physical ability, it's about consistency. A fighter with the right mindset will keep showing up and improving and adapting over time, all right? So the question here is, when training gets hard, do you see fatigue as a signal to stop or as a sign of growth? And the question two is, how do you think your mindset today is going to affect where you are as an athlete or, I mean, hobbyist, whatever, in 5 years' time? All right. So write them down. Just a picture of you now, you in 5 years' time. Is your mindset going to get you to where you want to be, or is it going to hold you back? Mental resilience in combat sports. What separates elite athletes from the rest? So, mental resilience is the ability to stay focused, bounce back from losses, and keep pushing through discomfort. Grit is a key factor in long-term success. It's not just about talent, but perseverance over time. And this is especially true in all aspects of life. I think I've always noticed that those that just kept showing up, regardless of their baseline skill level, they were the best overall, like longer term. Like I've trained for many years, right? Been on the mat with some incredible athletes, and I've been on the mat with some people with just genetic phenoms who picked up training like this, right? But I've also seen them break a lot easier. I've also seen them quit, and I think a lot of it was to do with their mindset going into it, and there's a lack of grit because it will get hard for you no matter what your natural talent level would be. Some people do pick up training a bit easier. They are a bit more athletic, a bit more sporty. They've got better genetics, but that doesn't mean that they've got the grit in here and the ability to push through here to do this long enough to actually be really good, right? And I see this a lot now. Everyone's ceiling is slightly different, but you want to get your own max potential if you're doing this. There's no point training jiu-jitsu just for the sort of training. You might as well go in and give it your best, right? And that's nothing to do with being a world champion. That's to do with just putting your all into something and giving it your best shot so you're actually getting the most out of your training, your time, your money, you know what I mean, everything you're doing with it. So fighters who are mentally tough don't let external factors, so like opponent's reputation, crowd, energy, pressure, dictate their performance. And I've been through myself, and I've actually been on both ends of the spectrum where I have let external factors play into it, and I've also totally blocked them out. And it's a difficult one that comes through practice. Like whenever I have beginners in the gym or my younger lads who compete, I tell them like go compete early and often. And the first thing you do in early comps, I don't even want you to think about the result. I don't even want you to think about the second match. I just want you to focus on the first match you have that day. Because the point is we're trying to rack up experience and just competing yourself and dealing with the crowd, the weigh-ins, the procedures, because it's all so much different from the gym. Even though the art of what you're doing is just grappling, it's just rolling on the ground like you do like you do 7 nights a week as hard as you can with people who are trying to rip your head off, and most of the time they're higher grades than you, and you're totally fine doing people higher grades than you. However, in a comp against someone your own grade and level, own weight as well. And people are like, oh my God, I can't do this because the environment has changed. So getting into the competition environment more is better for performance long term, even though you might have losses early on or you might not feel comfortable to develop yourself. Research on elite athletes shows that mental resilience is what separates champions from those who fall short, even when physical abilities are similar. I can't remember. I think it's from the book I was reading called The Sports Gene. I think it's The Sports Gene. Maybe that one. And I think they were on about Olympic athletes. Now, not saying that you need this to do really well, right? But what they found, like a lot of the Olympic gold medalists, the medalists, I think they had some kind of childhood trauma, a family member dying, something happened to them. I mean, things that weren't the nicest, right? But it seemed to give them a bit more mental resilience. Whereas the ones who hadn't medalled tend to have like a nice upbringing. Now, I am absolutely not saying that you need to fucking go and get some childhood trauma in your life to fucking be who you want to be. But what I'm trying to point out is like that usually for those that get through that and come out on the positive end, they tend to be quite mentally resilient. Some people it's really horrible and it breaks them, it puts them in a bad spiral in life, right? So again, I don't want to go down that route. But the point is that mental resilience is where a lot of the time your skill levels are quite close together. And the amount of times you might be in a role in a match and pushing, going, oh my God, I'm fucked, I can't, I'm struggling here, this is really tough. And you think that the other person's fresh, and they're not. They're just as fatigued as you are, right? But they might be saying something more positive in their mind and pushing through. Sorry, I got my dog here. Mental. The key to resilience is reframing challenges as opportunities. A difficult sparring session isn't something to fear, it's an opportunity to improve. And this is a big one, right? I think some people, a lot of time you come into jiu-jitsu and you're viewing it as like win or lose, not life or death, but it's like your self-value on how you on your skill level is the result of the role or the comp, right? But a lot of time it's probably not, right? Some days we have a really good day and some days you have a bad day. That just happens. And you might be having your bad day when someone else is having a fucking good day. But when you come into these events, competitions, roles, right? Like open mats with people you don't usually train with. Sorry, I have a dog, that's all my stuff. Um, if you're coming in today and you're seen as like this big negative, like, oh, I have to do well, I have to win, and you're seen it as like it's going to affect your self value, it's definitely going to feel a lot more pressure, a lot more difficult. And if you make a mistake, you're going to overthink that mistake a lot more than if you went and go, right, this is a great opportunity for me here. Like, these are some great guys on the mat today. Like, here's an opportunity for me to really test myself against some good guys. And if I lose, okay, I know I need to work on, right? So it's just that literally just the way you frame the situation can totally change how you perform. So, question for you: when you face adversity in training competition, what is your default response? And can you think of a time when you pushed through a tough situation and surprised yourself? Again, write them down. I have 2 minutes and come back. So, the psychology of nutrition eating for performance. So, willpower is a limited resource known as ego depletion, right? Baumeister, right? And on this, what I want you to think about is if you're trying, like, I'll put it in the notes, if you're trying to constantly use willpower to say no to food, right? People seem to think that that gets stronger. You don't get stronger. Like it's been shown that it literally just fatigues over time. Just imagine a part of your brain. Unfortunately, that muscle might get a bit better. You might get better control at some point, but it's not going to get incrementally better where you could have the willpower of a monk, right? And more likely what's going to happen is if you've had a really shit night's sleep, tough week of training, you've been dieting quite hard, you get to Thursday and you forgot your breakfast or you have meal prep, it's lunchtime, and you've had a bunch of busy decisions in work that day, are you probably going to make the best decision, or how strong will your willpower be at 12 o'clock when someone says, let's go to McDonald's? For a lot of people, it's fucking pretty low, right? But you've got to look at all the circumstances around it. Willpower might be a lot stronger when everything's going right, but life as life is doesn't always go perfectly. We do have shitty night's sleep. We do have personal issues, maybe with arguing with your partner, maybe things happen with your family. Maybe your boss has been a dickhead in work and it's like just fried your head, or you've had a bunch of emails you haven't expected and had to do a lot more, right? Life gets in the way, and trust me, it affects willpower. So we can't rely on willpower to get us to the next level. So that mentality of just being like, I'll just like outwill it, I'll just fucking dig down, that's not really going to help. Instead, you need to look at building systems and habits, right? So meal prep and structured eating schedules, right? Rely on motivation. For me, it's making sure I set the week up so I don't forget my meal prep. It's on a Sunday, getting to Aldi's, getting my beef, getting my rice, getting everything cooked up on a Sunday, so I've got something there for lunch every day that week. It's making sure that I have healthy snacks on hand in my bag at all times. So like, if I do messing up, I've always got an apple, a banana, a Squares bar, protein bar. I've got something that I can have. Okay, this is the importance. because without these things, it's much easier to go, fuck it, I'll have to go to Tesco, or I'll have to go here, I'll have to have this, all right? So an example would be like a fighter meal preps, healthy meals of the week. Don't be a fighter, it could be anyone really, but won't have to make decisions when they're tired or stressed. Good choice is automatic. And that's a key point is like, you don't want to be trying to make decisions when you're tired or stressed. A key example of this would be someone like, there's like Mark Zuckerberg, not Wahlberg, Mark Wahlberg, Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs. They're known for like wearing like similar clothes all the time. It's because they want to reduce decision fatigue. The decisions that they make are worth billions, like billions of fucking dollars, right? So like they need to make sure they make it the absolute best decision at that time, and they don't want to spend any time waiting. Going, oh, what should I wear today? Does this outfit go together? Should I put them jeans on? What shoes should I wear? They don't. They just, I like this t-shirt. I like this jeans. I'm gonna buy fucking 6 pairs of them, 600 boxes. It's all set up every day. I'm gonna dress the same, like a uniform, right? They don't have to think about it. Okay. So, question: do you rely more on willpower or structure when it comes to making comes to your nutrition? And what is one small change that you can make to make good food choices easier? Okay. So, how emotion, stress, and influence eating habits. All right. So many people eat based on emotion rather than hunger, stress, boredom, and frustration. Okay, which leads to poor food choices. Stress increases cortisol, okay, which triggers cravings for high fat, high sugar foods. So, an example, a fighter cutting weight, right, or when you guys dieting, will often experience emotional stress, making them more vulnerable to binge eating once the dieting phase is over. And again, something I stress my fight camp guys or any of my guys going through hard dieting phases is the post diet phase is as important, if not more important, than the dieting phase alone. You may have done it yourself. Dieted really hard, like eating really clean, got a lot of weight off, and then after it, you've eaten one or two bad meals, thought fuck it, and blown back up, and then been devastated with the weight gain. Okay, so you need to learn to identify your emotional triggers and replace them with better coping mechanisms. Hydration, movement, mindfulness, these are key, right? So like an example would be, I like to give my guys a 5 minute action where if they feel like they really want to snack or binge something, they do something different for 5 minutes, whether that is going for a little walk, doing some breathing exercises. And I know it sounds a bit crazy and a bit cliche, but taking your mind away from I want to go raid the food cupboard for 5 minutes can actually settle down that voice in your head that is trying to drive you a bit crazy. We're emotional human beings. Like life is can be challenging. Maybe the kids have fried your head. Maybe you've had, like I said, a shit day at work, bad training session, and the only thing you want to come do is come home and scran a fucking Ben and Jerry's, right? Having that 5 minutes, doing some breathing, bring your emotional state back down to a baseline, makes it a lot easier. Okay. So the question is, do you eat based on emotions and habits or performance goals? And what situations tend to lead you to make poor food choices? Again, think deeply about those. Have a look into them because you may find some really good answers into the reasons why you do what you do. It could be that you tend to find that when, I don't know, you've had a fluctuation on the scale, it makes you go a bit crazy, right? It may be that bad sparring sessions lead you to overeat. It could be that you tend to find that by Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday, if you haven't got anything planned, you will just go off the rails. Have a look into like the mistakes you're making and why, and you'll see a lot more about like, right, here's what I need to change. How many more have I got? These I got 19. I'm going to just stop in a bit. So I'm actually going to skip through these ones, right? Because um, so next one's on learning to embrace discomfort and fatigue. Okay, so when it comes to any endeavor where you're trying to push yourself out of your comfort zone, hence the word comfort zone, when you're trying to push past that, and this is where a lot of good growth will happen to a certain extent, right? You're going to feel uncomfortable, discomfort, and you're going to be faced with other things like fatigue, right, or stress. Now, it's how you embrace these feelings and how you handle them will dictate whether you actually like complete and get through the process and hit your goal, or whether you end up quitting and going back to what you meant to do. Okay. So the brain will try to convince you to quit a long time before your body actually needs to, right? So athletes who can mentally override the feelings of fatigue perform better in competition. Now, what I'm saying again, on fatigue is not like body absolutely destroyed and being on the verge of injury. It's that part in your head where you are, I don't, just for example, think of a plank, right? And say you're trying to hold a plank, and there's a definite part that goes, oh, I just want to drop my knees to the floor, like this is aching, I can't be arsed, my arms are tired. So I think all these negative thoughts, and as soon as you start thinking and jump on that negative thought train, it starts going faster and faster, right? And then when you drop, then obviously the thoughts jump away, but you've just broke, right? They tend to find that those that like speak more positively to themselves, right, and push through that phase, they can actually go a lot longer than they first realized. That ache sort of subsides a little bit, reduces, right? The negative thoughts sort of like whoosh away, and you find you got a lot more in the tank, okay? But you can only figure this out by doing it through practice, right? So it's just giving yourself, like, the next time you feel in training, like a little bit tired, oh, I'm absolutely wrecked from that round, just get up to your feet, right? Whether the round ends and you want to lie on the mat like you're all pancaked out and can't do anymore, just get up to your feet. Whether it's during the round and you're really tired and like your heart's beating in your chest and you're breathing heavy and you just want to hold off and stop, push yourself to make a big action. Go, right now, I'm going to go for it, baby. Do it like a 3, 2, 1 countdown in your head, obviously. Don't say it out loud. Blast them with a double or try and pass the guard. Push yourself. You'd be surprised how much more you've got in the tank. But if you're finding them situations usually stopping, you're going to practice that habit of quitting when it gets hard. So the example is that Navy SEAL rule, the 40% rule, suggests that when you feel like quitting, you're only 40% done, okay? A big part of this will be your self-talk. So what is your self-talk when you feel like quitting? And have you ever surprised yourself by pushing through fatigue? So visualization and self-talk technique, right? So studies show that mentally rehearsing fights and technique can really help activate the same neural pathways as physically doing it, okay? So many elite fighters will visualize their fights beforehand, imagine every detail, the walkout, the first exchange, reacting to adversity, and even the victory celebration. A study on Olympic athletes found that those who combined physical and mental training performed significantly better than those who only trained physically, okay? Now on this, you want to think about how can you relate this yourself. So it could be you got a comp coming up, visualizing the competition, visualize the day, right? Getting up in the morning, what are you doing? I'm gonna have this breakfast. I'm gonna go and get my kit bag. I'm going to the venue. When I go to the venue, I'm gonna go and do X, Y, Z. Then I'm gonna go have my water, go weigh in. When I weigh in, I go to the bullpen. I'm gonna do these exercises. Go through your warm-up routine. What do you do to warm up? And I stress this on my own athletes. Find a warm-up routine that you can do anywhere in the world that takes a few minutes that you can do over and over again that you can rely on, because that way then it becomes part of, like, the natural process of you preparing to compete. All right, by doing this you'll get more into that flow state, and that flow state is that, you might have heard you guys saying before, but that's that optimal performance state of, like, it almost, sometimes if you've ever hit it yourself, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm saying if almost basically just watching yourself compete. When you think back to it, was like you just go, like, everything was clicking, boom, 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 like you were operating at another frequency, right? And it's a brilliant feeling. To get there, we need to go through that, like, routine. Now, if you haven't been there, similar example I can try and bring it to would be the driving home, right? So I'm not saying you hitting the flow state driving home, like the peak competition flow state, but what I'm saying is a lot of time if you were to drive home, right, from like work to home, right, or from the gym to home, if you think about it, how much of that journey do you actually remember? A lot of times, like, fucking, I don't remember any of it. Like changing gears, you know, you think, right, boom, 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 right? You're flowing. Is you've done it so many times that you just enter the state of your mind. You could be thinking about something totally different, but you're just driving. You're doing all the correct actions. And now compare that to when you first learned to drive, and I'll guarantee you'll think about it. Like when you first learned to drive, you were just like overly checking your mirrors, left, right, up, down, like this. You were like fucking shaking, trying to change gears. You fiddling with the clutch. Like there was so much thinking going on in your brain. You definitely were in a flow state. You were in a fucking decision making, madness, fatigue, panic, about every little thing you were doing state, okay? Which, if you think about it, you probably weren't a good driver back then. When you think about the flow state vision, you that drives from the gym back home, easy, okay? Now, if you've ever hit the flow state in competition and rolling, you know it's not exactly that. It's even better. It's a fucking nice feeling. It's great. But that's going to come from doing things, like I said, the visualization, and set up a routine that falls into a structure you can easily do, repeatable for every competition, okay, or every time you go training. Next will be your self-talk, right? So your internal dialogue is extremely important. The way you talk to yourself will shape your confidence and resilience. So the fighters who repeated positive, empowering statements like "I belong here, I'm in control, I thrive under pressure," they perform better under stress. For example, Joe St. Pierre's openly talked about self-talk to manage fear, repeating "I'm excited, not scared." And studies show that instructional self-talk, e.g. keep your hands up, stay calm, can improve performance in high-pressure situations, okay? Now, again, on this one, it's them little things that is the voice in your head can really dictate like where your round or where your training session is going to go. If the voice in your head is negative, like this is hard, I want to stop, like I'm not enjoying this, I'm aching, like I'm going to get injured. These things are going to they're going to also put brakes on your performance. They're going to stop you being able to push to that next level. The right, let's go. I can do this. I got more in the tank. Come on, keep going. Like you can do this. These things, right? They push you a little bit further ahead, and It's learning to switch or learn to notice that negative self-talk coming, because it's very sneaky when it comes in, and switch into a more positive self-talk can really make the difference between, again, winning and performing in your rounds or getting smashed, right? So have you ever visualized a competition before it happened? If so, did it help? And what is one negative thought you tend to have before or during a fight? Could be a roll, whatever, okay? And how can you reframe it into a positive one? So last few slides, right? So competition mindset, performing under pressure. Competition anxiety and how to manage it. So anxiety before competition could be the gym session, right? Is normal, but how you interpret it is what matters. So athletes who reframe anxiety as excitement perform better than those who see it as a weakness. Examples, studies show that controlled breathing, visualization, pre-fight routines reduce anxiety and improve confidence. Like I just said, it's these things that help you learn to control the situation and feel more comfortable in a new environment than letting it all get to you, all right? So like for a lot of people, the competition, if you think about it again, it's not really anything different to what you do in the gym 7 nights a week. It's the environment that changes, and it's that environment that changes the way you're talking to yourself and the way your body reacts and responds. Now, anxiety and adrenaline, right? You you shouldn't usually feel them in your daily training sessions, right? If you train several days a week, it's very unlikely you get anxious beforehand, right? If you are, that's a different situation, different topic, right? And it's very unlikely you're going to have high adrenaline, okay? You might have some adrenaline, but you're not going to have high adrenaline, not competition adrenaline, right? If any of you had that competition adrenaline before, you know it's like when you're in the gi and you're grappling, your forearms feel like they're going to explode, right? It's not a common feeling. So when that anxiety kicks in, okay, when that adrenaline has come through, right, for a lot of people, it can start to set a panic because your heart rate's elevating, right? Blood pressure's changing. When these things happen, it's like, oh my God, this doesn't feel right. This is not normal. This is uncomfortable. Like I said earlier, getting used to being out your comfort zone, right? Whereas those that see that and goes, right, okay, this is uncomfortable, but this is my body preparing for combat, it's preparing to perform its best. It's getting ready to absolutely go for it, right? They tend to handle the competition a lot better than someone who sees this as a negative and they're like, oh, how am I going to compete? My legs feel like jelly. I'm not able to do my moves. They go into the match and get smashed. And you may have seen it or may have felt yourself seeing like a good grappler in the gym, or yourself might be like in the gym, you feel great. Then on the competition mat, you go and you like crumble. And it's because this anxiety, this adrenaline, this is getting to you not handling it properly, okay? So you need to learn to control it. One of my favorite exercises for controlling that anxiety, right, that adrenaline, is box breathing. So think like a square, like this, okay? So you breathe slowly through your nose and you try and fill your lungs up and belly. So like pull it into your belly, right? 5 seconds in, so like, for 4 seconds, sorry, 4 seconds in, hold it for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out through your mouth for 4 seconds. You blow all the air out. Try and push it from your belly for 4 seconds. Hold the all the air's gone out. Hold it for 4 seconds, and then breathe in again. 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Out for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. In. You do this box. Think like a box, right? You do this 5 to 10 times. Take your time with it, and you start to control that adrenaline, right? Your central nervous system relax. It's a really powerful tool that I've used in multiple, where I've gone to do like some kind of public speaking, whether I've gone to go and do anything really that's made me feel a bit nervous. I've just done some box breathing, like I feel my heart rate coming up, calm myself back down, hold myself back centered. And then the main thing to do when you're doing this breathing is not to think about comps, not to think about your opponent or whatever you've got to do. Just think about the air. Feel your breath. Think about, focus on the breath and the breathing, and it can really help to calm and control, okay, them feelings, okay? So my questions are, how do you usually feel before competing, and what pre-fight routine helps you feel in control? So, hope you've all enjoyed. That is, like, I had a couple more slides, but I just keep that for the fight camp guys. And if you want to see them, then come on the next fight camp. But I hope you've gained some valuable insight from this, all right? Learning to control your mind and the way you reframe challenges, the way you see situations, learn to control your breathing, visualization. These are such powerful tools that can really help you get to like the next level in terms of competing, rolling, okay? Or when you're at about your life where you're going to have to come outside your comfort zone. Most people, if you asked to watch this, right, you're probably someone who wants to fucking improve as human, right? You want to get better at things. That's going to involve getting outside your comfort zone, okay? So when you do that, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be something that is going to scare you, right? Like I get scared before every fight, right? And I always have. You've got to understand it's a natural part of the process. I worked with a sports psychologist years back, and one of the best things he ever said to me was, you will always feel nervous and scared to a degree about things you care about. For example, your phone, right? So like we all care about these devices, right? We're on it all the fucking time. It's important to us, it's expensive, right? When you don't have your phone in your pocket, you meant to have it, you have that little panic, you start to touch yourself, oh my God, where's my phone? You do like, boom, for that rush of adrenaline, oh my God, I've lost my phone, I've lost my keys, right? Things like that. You care about them, okay? So, like, you are invested in what happens to that device, right? Or where it is. Similar to your competitions, like when you train hard and you're in the gym 7 nights a week, right? You really push yourself and you feel like you're dedicated to the sport, you want to feel like you're improving, you go into a competition, you do care about the result. And it's very hard to take yourself away from the result. It's natural to like, it's totally normal to like want to win. That's what you're meant to want to do, right? Now, I do obviously advise my students early on to try and go there with a lot less expectation and more about getting used to the performance itself. But I know that's not going to fully happen. I know they are going to care about winning or losing. I know they in their head they've imagined winning gold and telling everyone how they fucking smashed the comp, right? But it is also something that you got to learn to like navigate. Okay, so learning to control your breathing, visualization, okay, reframing challenge opportunities, even just like your self-talk, all these small details add up. And the high performers, right, the people that you see smashing it, the ones who like perform in the gym on the mat, they are very good at these things, okay? So I hope you've enjoyed this little TED talk of me. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I love talking about this stuff. We'll do it all day and night. It's one of my favorite things. So yeah, drop me a message and I will help you out, okay? Thank you guys. Bye bye.